One of the more difficult aspects of exploring Antarctica, not just here on Google Earth Pro, but in real life, is you have to bring everything with you for an expedition because there's nothing down here. There's never been any official acknowledgement that they have found anything remotely like settlements or any kind of ancient structure to be able to use. Well, in today's video, I think I found something that might disprove that, because there is evidence of human activity out in the middle of nowhere, and there aren't any settlements, but there's evidence that more than likely they went underground. Now, real quick, where we're going to be, just for reference, of course, what they call the Antarctic Peninsula, this part we've referred to as the 12 o'clock region near Argentina. If you just go straight in from it and come straight down, you will come to an area that's labeled, if you have the labels up, ZUMBERGE Coast, or Sentinel Range. I'm going to go ahead and kick those off real quick, just to show you what I found. The first thing is one of these long cable tunnel structures. One of the longest I've found, exactly 51 nautical miles, which, if I've done my math correctly, is 17 leagues, which is a very odd exact measurement for this to be something that is either camera stitching or some satellite artifact. Now, where it begins is up here, and of course I will give you all of these coordinates, and it traces 180 degrees straight down, and then ends down here very near to something that we have found before, this massive triangular doorway. And I covered this in a video, I think it was August, that we had found this. But oddly enough, the evidence that I speak of is right here. Now, it's labeled Union Glacier Runway. And it's pretty easy to see that this is something that was created by man. However, there are no buildings, no settlements, nothing around this for, I mean, miles and miles and miles, hundreds of miles. But there are some strange things that look like they go underground. Here down at the turnaround section, and of course this is the December 2012 aspect layer, historical layer, you see what looks like some smaller, tiny buildings, but they really are almost nondescript. You almost really couldn't call them buildings. But off in three directions, you have this ridge, what looks like a natural ice ridge here. And it doesn't look like a road at all. But this is the strange part. If you go this way from it, it kind of ends, but then it picks up again and starts to turn. And where it ends up is pretty amazing. One of these glowing red pyramid-shaped structures. And it looks like the tunnel goes right underneath it from that runway. And like I said, there's nothing else out here on the surface. No structures, no buildings, no any kind of shelter at all. How you could land a plane out here on this runway and then go anywhere other than underground, I don't see how. And we do see this because going off this direction, there is one of these, and I've labeled them before, these tunnel structures. And it goes off in two directions. One goes this way, and then there's another faint one. It's very, very hard to get it to pick up. Let's see if I can turn the light down for the contrast. It's right here. I know it's almost not even showing up. But like I said, I'll give you the coordinates, Google Earth Pro, and you'll be able to find this for yourself. But this tunnel makes a very distinct turn right here, and you can see this one. But once again, I'll turn the lights back up real quick. It just goes off into nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. No buildings, nothing. This one goes a little bit longer up here. Maybe you can see it better up here. This is a trick I've always tried to show people. You can, when you're having white on white, different shades of it, it's very difficult to show up on camera. If you turn there's a button up by the time slider that allows you to see things in twilight, and it makes the contrast better. And it's right here. I'm trying to follow this white line. But once again, trails off into nowhere. The only place they could be going would be underground out here. Now, we've covered this area before. There are quite a few very strange things here. One of them is here, and with everything else bathed in red, oddly, we see this structure that's painting the side of the mountain with a white light. It looks like light coming from some type of underground structure, like this would be an entrance, and the light from that underground entrance was shining against the mountain. Over here we see kind of the same thing. What looks like an opening and some type of a ridge. Possible collapsed tunnel structure. Hard to say, but very unlikely it's natural. Especially given that we have a runway here. So there's very clearly something that is going on. We find, of course, all of these quote-unquote HC hidden corner structures where they have pasted over and tried to hide something. Now, there might be something hidden on the surface that they have just completely covered up. But here, you can see what looks like a nearly perfect pyramid right on the surface. And it's right by this runway. Here's the end of the runway right here. Now, oddly enough, if you go forward in time, it seems as if they have abandoned this runway. Because here it looks like it's being maintained somehow. A runway of this size, you would probably need some fairly large equipment to keep it clear and to keep it visible from the air. So where is that equipment being stored that created this? Especially with the wind. Even if it wasn't snowing, the wind would cover this up almost immediately. Unless they've put some kind of a chemical down that keeps snow from accumulating. And that's just speculation. Because there is absolutely zero out here on the surface other than what looks like these underground tunnels. And when you see the end of this, it looks like, okay, this is where you're playing with land. And there are these two tiny structures that look like they are just tunnel entrances right by what look like what we have been labeling here at the channel for the last 6 months. These cable tunnel structures. They've either discovered something, a system, a network of tunnels that's already there, or they're creating them. Or some type of a hybrid of both. They have maybe taken something that was already existing and they've improved upon it. But it's not on the surface. There have been stories out recently about, I think they're trying to explain massive ice melting. I wonder if, as a result of all of this exploration down there, they have caused some kind of a cascade problem with the heat. And they're talking about I think it's called the Thwaite, Thwaite glacier, that it's melting at an alarming rate. And if it were to melt, it would actually cause a cascade failure with other glaciers that it's holding in. And it could cause sea level rise as much as 2 feet. But 3 very suspect structures right around this runway. One going this direction that we'll go back to it. I don't know really even how to describe it. Because we've seen this structure too, under the ice. I don't know what you would label this as. This is not on the surface. And it's too straight to be natural. And where it ends up is almost indescribable. Just completely bathed in this red color that we've seen over and over and over again. And we don't see this in other parts of the world on Google Earth Pro. If this were some artifact of photography, if this were some kind of a problem with the satellite, you would think it would be reproducible in other mountain ranges, whether it be up in the US or in Russia or someplace else. Haven't found it anywhere else other than here. So I guess I will leave it there. But like I said, I'll give you the coordinates on Google Earth Pro 2012. You can look this up for yourself and you can inspect it for yourself and, tell me what you think of these structures. I mean, we found so many things down here over the last 6 to 9 months. I think it's probably beyond the shadow of any reasonable doubt that something is going on down here they're not telling us about. So you guys have a great weekend. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time.